This is a Hyphea project, Hyphea investigation, Hyphea podcast, and this is essentially an investigation and a look into the future from the perspective of doers, makers, and thinkers. And today we have a very special guest, filmmaker. Wait, I got it written down. Film director, cinematographer, globetrotter, adventurer, and my dear friend, Guus Schuijl. Welcome, dude. And what's up? What
Awesome, dude. Thank you for having me.
Keep busy these days, dude. Like, how you doing?
I'm doing well. We're basically in lockdown right now here in Bilbao, so it's really good for your productivity. Getting a lot of work done, doing a lot of online work right now, and basically sitting out coronavirus. That's the honest answer. Like the Ontong Java project that we were working on, it's a little bit hard to schedule right now because you cannot really propose like any feasible starting date to start shooting because there's so much uncertainty there, which is, I'm kind of forced to take a break, and it usually leads to some pretty cool insights as well. So I'm doing a lot of online work. We've got some other early stage passion projects that I'm working on right now.
Awesome.
And planning my escape from Europe.
Oh yeah, I remember you were talking about this quite a few times. But just to give an intro to everybody who's just like tuning in and like have no idea about our pre-existing relationship, you're the guy who called me out of nowhere. I was just getting into Sydney, and that was the first day I got into Sydney. And you called me and you asked me, "Hey, dude, do you want to come with me to Solomon Islands? And you could fly a drone. You could, chill out with me on the islands, like to go where no man has put a foot, stuff like that." I was so.
I remember that phone call. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I was literally standing with my bags on the street looking for Airbnb, and you just called me. I was trying to get rid of you in a most polite way. I was like, yeah, sure, dude, like whatever.
You never told me that.
you were like, yeah, sure, and you get so excited, and I was like, wait, what did I agree to? And
wait, do you regret it?
Dude, absolutely not. This is one of the things. So you called me and you proposed a project to go with you to Solomon Islands, which is like 3 hours by plane from Brisbane, Australia to Solomon Islands, to do a project with you. I didn't know too much about this, but we ended up doing this incredible video journey, this adventure of a lifetime. It was exactly 1 year ago. So that's the basis.
Yeah.
Like that's for everybody who's like have no idea what we are talking about. That was Ontong Java, that was Solomon Islands, that was Honiara, and I do not regret this, man. What about you?
Well, it's exactly 1 year ago, I think, that we were getting ready to board the ship to go back to Honiara, right?
Yeah.
Because your birthday is in 2 days. And I think, that means that today we went on the boat to go back to Honiara.
Dude. Yes,
so tomorrow was the first day that we had internet again in how many weeks, and that we're going to be connected to the world again for the first time ever.
Oh, do you remember that? Like the first moment you got in, like after those 2 months, do you remember that moment, that day? Like that, the moment when we
were sitting on the bridge, I remember, and we were both trying to get connected, and it was like a signal, but we both were really eager to get back to internet connection, but it didn't work on our phone somehow. Yeah. Then you figured out the trick, and then it was just, very disappointing, like how much spam we both got in our emails.
Oh, yeah.
You were super stressed about your accountant, I remember.
Oh my God.
You were both late paying taxes because we both thought it was going to go a little differently.
Dude, that was one of the most stressful experiences of my life, because the moment we were going to the islands, like the moment the internet just got cut off, I received an email from my accountant. It was like, I just got a headline, and that's like, I just got a headline of the email, and I was like, something serious, like urgent, like please come back to me within a day or two. I was like, oh my God, like I have to do it, and I kept refreshing it, and that's where the internet disappeared.
That was the end.
And for the next 2 months, every single day, that was like on my mind, like, what did I
you get in trouble? Like 2 months without internet? Did that bring you?
Dude, nothing.
That's how bad.
Dude, that was everything was in my mind. I don't know how about you, but
I got late for my taxes. I was supposed to get a fine for that, but it never really reached me. I think they have some kind of like lenient period. I don't know. Like I did not get into any trouble. I'm kind of looking forward to getting off the grid again,
Oh, nice.
and saying goodbye to internet for a longer period of time.
Dude,
We in chat.
I remember how weird was it to like not have internet, because in Honiara, like it was like there was internet, like you could get on Instagram, like if you got a data from kiosk, but on those
Yeah.
islands, like that was a different. I really miss that. It's like a noise in a way. Like if there's no internet, like a lot of things change and mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Dude, so
I remember being able to like sleep a lot better as well because
oh, yeah.
generally right now my screen time it's kind of embarrassing, but I spend at least like 12 days an hour behind my computer right now. As in, there's not much out there. It's almost raining every day, so I'm super productive. But like 12 hours per day spending behind my computer, that's not even my phone. That's just my computer. That's
Oh,
just the
dude.
working.
Oh, dude, I feel it,
And
man.
not doing that, that was just it gets you more in like a natural rhythm. So you wake up when the sun rises and you go to sleep 2 hours after sunsets.
Yeah. So you're in Spain right now, and you're like having a lot. You experience a very hardcore version of a lockdown, right? You told me you cannot like leave the city or something like that, like or like.
Yeah, it's not that hardcore. You cannot leave the city. That's a really big shame because I really love going to the mountains. That's kind of like my exercise I have around here, and in nature, I feel like that's the person who I am, being in nature. So you can still do it, but you have to do it illegally.
Okay.
So because you can still travel in between cities, but you need to have like a valid reason for it. And going to the mountains just to run or to climb a mountain, that's not really a valid reason. So you can still do it. Monday I'm going to try it. First time to a different municipality. But for the rest, like it's still pretty much open. As in the stores are still open. We do have like a curfew right now, but it's people are pretty chill around here, except for the riots that are going on.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Occasionally.
All right, dude. Well, listen, like, I want to talk to you about the climate action, climate change, environmental action, like that's like we can talk a long time about like all the stuff that we've experienced, and that's the stuff for a lot of episodes, and I'd love to like have this kind of conversation with you over and over again, just so we can like compare our experiences, like given what we get to know later on in our lives, and seeing back how Ontong Java has influenced. Like I knew it's gonna change my life, and it did, and I'm gonna be grateful to you till the day I die for this kind of opportunity to join you. But today I really want to touch on a topic of how filmmaking, how storytelling is a powerful tool in climate action. And I'd love to pick your brain. Would you can you tell your experience in how you see the role of filmmaking in bringing climate action to public eye, raising awareness of what's going on? Like can you elaborate on that?
That's a really good question, Iggy. I think in general, what I see a lot when I read a lot about like other filmmakers, how they describe like their role. A lot of people try to distance themselves from any kind of responsibility. They say, we as filmmakers, we try to entertain. That's like the sole purpose of filmmaking. Like if you want to learn something about a certain topic, go read a book. I think that's true. Film is entertainment, and it's even a lot of the films that are based on like true stories and a lot of documentaries. There's a lot of perspective and interpretation going on, but I do also think that there's some responsibility as the filmmaker. Like the only story I know of Chris Kyle is because I watched American Sniper. A lot of people only know Christopher McCandless because they watched Into the Wild. So even though that the filmmakers are not saying we're teaching you something about the world, they are actually like influencing people's worldviews. And I think a very important thing that needs to happen with climate change in general is that the perspective of people has to change, like the mindsets have to change. And I think that's already happening. I think I'm very positive. I think a lot more positive than many climate activists that I'm talking to. about how we're going to respond to this as humanity. But I think over there, that is at least how I tried to do my part, even though it's very small. I think as filmmaking is a very great tool to help change those mindsets. The same thing, for Ontong Java, I think almost everybody that's going to watch that movie is going to hear about Ontong Java for the first time. They're going to hear about the challenges that they face.
Can you tell a bit about the movie itself? Because people just have no idea what it is. Like, would you mind explaining what's the Ontong Java movie?
So Ontong Java is a atoll in the Western Pacific, and it is situated just north of Solomon Islands, close to Papua New Guinea. And this is in one of the regions where the sea level is rising faster than anywhere else in the world. So there's a global average sea level rise of about like 3 millimeters per year, and over there it's about 8 millimeters per year. So a pretty common misconception that people have about sea level rise is that sea level rise is primarily caused by glaciers that are melting and that rises the sea level everywhere equally, which is just not true. And especially in the case of the Western Pacific, the meltwater that's coming from the glaciers contributes not even to like 30% of the sea level rise. Like the main factor that contributes to sea level rise there is a process called thermal expansion, which basically means that if the water warms up, it expands and thus rises the sea level. And it's not what a lot of people think, but that's just going to like even out, but that takes hundreds of years. So it's happening at such a fast rate that the sea level rise there is very tremendous. It's going really fast. And for the Ontong Java atoll, that means that the community that's living there, which is about like 4,000 people, that like the highest point, like the entire villages are about like 0.5 meter and 1.5 meter above sea level. Mm-hmm. So that means that by the end of the century, most of the villages are going to be gone. They predict at least 1 meter sea level rise there. It could be more, it could be less. It depends on like how the climate, like how the currents change and a lot of different factors that come into play. But the community there is facing like a lot of trouble because of that. There has been one village that has already been washed away out of the 3 villages that used to exist there. You can also see that there's not a lot of research being done over there, but like you've seen it as well, and myself as well, that a lot of the coral reefs have already died over there. The coral reefs is the it's almost nothing is alive. It's very hard to find like a speck of coral garden that's still alive. And that has an enormous impact for the people that are living there because the population grows pretty fast. A lot of people get at least like 3, 4, 5, 6 children. So it goes really fast. And the income that they have over there is the export of marine resources. So because the coral reefs are dying, the marine resources get shrink as well. And that leaves just, this is like a smaller pie, more people have to eat from it, and people are hungry. So right now, as we speak, November 6, 2020, there's a huge crisis going on in the island because some people are harvesting still the sea cucumbers that we're exporting. While it's actually, there's a ban enforced because they want to prevent overfishing, but people are hungry. What are you going to do? Like, you got a family and you cannot survive on fish and coconuts, which they are actually doing right now. Wow. And the government fails to help them, and they pay a lot of taxes. Well, it's a big trouble. And like climate change, it's at the core of this all. Like the climate change is causing the land to shrink, which causes the disputes. Climate change is warming the sea waters, which is like diminishing the biodiversity of the ocean. So that's like the core problem of it all. So the movie that I'm trying to make over there is very much about like the personal consequences. I would love to humanize this. So it's not going to be like, I want to tell this story from the perspective of the people that are living on the island. And a lot of the people over there, they have like a slightly different perspective than the scientific perspective, because who cares about science if, like that's very like a first world perspective. So I would very much like to humanize it and show like the transition that's going on right now. So a quarter of the population has already moved from the islands to Honiara, to the capital city of Solomon Islands. And that's basically the future for a lot of the people. A lot of the people, when they finish high school, they start thinking, okay, the future might not be on the island, so you need an education. So they move to the capital city. And that process is very interesting.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's really important for people to visualize that change, because in a film, it's really easy to understand the scale of the problem. Like once you move out of the paradise, like literally a paradise, into dirty, trash-filled capital of Solomon Islands that is, under development, but it is a 180 degrees change in their lifestyle, and like
it's at least 180. It's completely different. As in, Ontong Java is actually the richest. They have the two richest wards of the islands. So they are they are very well off. They live in paradise. It's super clean. Everybody's super happy over there in paradise on the atoll. And when they go to the city, they become a minority because they are Polynesian people in a Melanesian country. And for us Europeans, that might not sound as a huge difference, but that's a huge leap in like the history that they have. As in, they have a different skin color, they have a different culture. Polynesians are very light skinned. It's Moana. It's the people with tattoos that are serving in Moana. In Melanesia, it's a very different culture, and they do they do integrate, but they do complain about that there's like the results in some problems and a lot of segregation as well.
I can imagine. Suddenly you have a lot of people just coming in that do not mix properly, or could not, like there's a potential that of a cultural clash, or somehow like this is a serious problem. And I know how surprised I was, but I think you've got more experience, more insight into explaining how common the climate change problem it is. Like young children know exactly what the problem is, like because they live it, they have it around them, right? Like that's
yes and no. Like it's very hard when you're on an island like that to come to the same conclusions as decades and decades of climate research, as in they don't have the resources like
Good
the
point,
fast.
yeah.
So from my experience working with those people is that a lot of the people have learned from like awareness programs that have been going on, as in they're very smart people. There's a few very educated people there as well, people from the atoll that have come to the university, have PhDs. So they're super smart and they're very critical thinkers. And that also makes them do the research, as in they listen to their heroes, they listen to the Minister of Environment, and when we were there, you remember Slade was there on a government program with two other guys from Solomon Islands government that were commissioned by the government, and to spread awareness, and everybody that was interested and was concerned about climate change, they could ask their questions to Slade, and Slade was instructing them how to answer to that.
Yeah, so just to bring the Slade into the conversation, like we met the guy for the first time in Luanua, on the one of the islands. Oh, okay, so we've spent some time on the main island, Palau, like main from our perspective.
It's not the main island, but
yeah, from my perspective, like that's where we got first. So after quite some time, we took a boat. It took us, I don't know what like 4 hours, 5 hours to get to the next even bigger island that's called Luanua, and then we stumbled upon this guy with his team, Slade, and he was asking about something like to get a projector, to do something technical from his side, and he was like describing this project that he was working on, and you guys connected really well, and I connected with him, and that was like such a weird encounter in the middle of like Pacific Ocean. Like there's somebody who's like trying to spread awareness of climate change. That was a weird. That was awesome. It's a cool thing. Yeah.
But there actually, after we went there, there's also been a team from SIBC, the Solomon Island Broadcasting Company, that did a short series of documentaries about showing to the people what's been going on over there. They have a few people in the community as well that are very interested and talented in storytelling themselves, and they're filmmakers themselves. And they're also, trying to do their part and get the message out. They're very proactive people, as in they're entrepreneurs, and they're smart, and they're well written.
Well, so let me ask you this. So I know you had a plan to go back to Solomon Islands. Like you spent quite some time over there, even more than I did. Like you've been there for 2 months before I got there. So you did a hardcore research. I remember when we were waiting for the ship to go to Ontong Java, and I woke up one day and I saw you sitting with a laptop open with like weirdly scientifically looking papers, and that was like your routine. Like every day you were reading on the research, and you've been so obsessed with research. I was like, wow, that guy's like, he's passionate about the topic. But with the current development of the lockdown and, you know, coronavirus, I like, what's your next step with the project right now? You want to finish it? Like, do you think it's like close to finish? Like, what's up? What's going on?
So when we were there, the intent of the film was very different than what the intent is right now. As in, we left the atoll thinking that we were making a broadcast length video, broadcast length film about that, so 45, 50, 60 minutes. And right now, I really think that this is a story that has the dimensions to be told in feature length. And it takes a very different approach as well. And when we were there, I was very much going through with the approach of like demonstrating the themes and making sure, like checking off all the things that are happening there, making people understand what's going on. And right now I'm like, I've spent so many hours, so many days thinking about it, writing about them. And we had like pitch decks and we made trailers. I got a little bit more familiar with the footage that we have already collected. And now I'm thinking I want to make a very humanistic as possible film about that. So that requires a different approach. It requires like a little bit more time on the atoll as well. I would love to learn the language. I would love to learn Ontong Java over there to get a lot closer to the kind of people that were just otherwise difficult to connect to. Like, you remember when we were there with I don't know his name again, the cousin of, no, the cousin of Chris, who we stayed with in Liwanua.
James?
Well, I don't remember his name because we were not able to communicate with him and with his two daughters and his wife. Like, we don't speak the language. And I'm very interested in going over there for a very extended period of time, learn the language, because especially those people. One thing you should know about the Ontong Java atoll is that the language they speak over there, they only speak over there. So thinking about those families, and it's, I don't know the numbers, there's no research being conducted, but maybe like 30-40% of the people over there only speaks their own local language. So what's going to happen to them if they have to move to somewhere else? They're not going to be able to communicate with anybody. Well, you know, like, I've not gone very deep into that. There's no research being done about those people. It's very difficult to do that as well, logistically. So the plan right now is await coronavirus. I'm not going to go there if there's only like a 1% chance that I'm going to bring the virus over there, because
dude, that's a serious.
Not live with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be done pretty much my thinking about the project already. I'm a little bit done thinking.
Gotcha.
Right now, ready for action. I'd love to do underwater shoots.
Well, there's, I mean, I know there's a lot of technical stuff that we can go into with like a film production. I know a lot of stuff. So it is also, I have to ask you, because it's been something it's been following me. It's been following me for the, like, as soon as you told me about this, I cannot stop thinking about your idea for the like future development of the series. Because like, the Ontong Java project, you're talking specifically about a community that lives in the middle of Pacific Ocean, and the problem is rising ocean levels and a lack of food, and, you know, the cultural clash if they have to emigrate to a different place. But do you want to talk about like those different ideas, those different communities you've been talking about, the one in Greenland, and like that was, you know, I love that idea, man. I
was working quite extensively on the Greenland story. After Ontong Java, I just needed some space for myself, so I spent like a month of research in Greenland. I learned Danish. Then I went to Denmark to go get a little bit closer to the community. And when COVID happened, that was during the Copenhagen Film Festival, and the opening film of that festival was exactly the film that I wanted to make. So that kind of like demotivated me. Like, I've already seen the movie. That also realized that when I watched that movie, I also realized that my research was not even close to near, because that movie really opened my eyes. I thought that I had a pretty clear image of what Greenland was going to be, and then I saw the movie and I was like, oh man, it's so different. So I'm actually not very much working on the development of the series as well. I kind of hope that I'm very interested in these kind of stories. I'm very interested in different cultures. I think it's very important that people are becoming more familiar with the different faces that the world has, and Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, and a lot of people are underrepresented. A lot of productions are being done in Europe and the United States, but we don't see as much coming from Africa and from places like Greenland. So I'm very interested in working on those kind of projects. But it's also logistically a little bit challenging, because just think about it, like especially with documentary, a lot of projects like in the beginning are personal investments, and then quite late on they get like backing. So having to pay for all of that and going everywhere and spend a good amount of time and get to know the characters, and I want to go all in. So if I want to go to Greenland, I want to speak the language. I want to be like very, very super close to the people, as close as I possibly can.
Gotcha.
So I'm very much. There's this one maker that is very inspirational to me, and you must have heard me say his name a few times. But his name is Jeff Orlowski, and Jeff Orlowski.
Jeff Orlowski. One more time. How do I spell it so I can put it in like links and stuff?
Jeff Orlowski, Orlow.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he did Chasing Ice when he was my age. And that was an incredible film. That was an incredible success. And it was an incredible, important story that he had to tell, and the world responded to that. He very much focused on impact documentary filmmaking, which is very something that interests me a lot as well. So what he did after the initial success of Chasing Ice, and after he made like a really big impact on the world, he made Chasing Coral. So he was able to like make like a spin-off on the initial idea, and now with like the proven track record of the first film, he was able to make the second film. So I'm kind of inspired by those kind of stories, and Jeff Orlowski is one of the people that worked like that. But it's like over and over again, and I see that happening everywhere. Same with The Act of Killing and The Look of Silence, and so forth. So I kind of want to just like go all the way into Ontong Java, hopefully learn a lot about that, make the best movie that I can, and hopefully use the momentum. I got a ton of ideas for things I want to do after that. And hopefully I can do that with the momentum of a successful release of Ontong Java.
Do you want to talk about those ideas, or do you think it's like too early to mention it?
It's premature. It's a little bit premature.
Gotcha.
I'm very interested the last few weeks in finding like a connection between online and film. The same way that television is doing it, like there's a lot of like interaction between television shows, which are also like made in a format, so it also works on YouTube. I'm very interested in, because online, if I think about like the amounts of hours that I consume on media every week, a large part of it is on YouTube. And
oh yeah, exactly. What, do you have anything that you watch like binge watch in terms of like documentaries? Like I'm super interested in like a formats, like usual the formats. On YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah, online. Yeah.
Oh man, there's so much good quality content out there. I really believe it's like a good future. It's like a future. I love everything politics. I've been very deep into the U.S. elections the last few days.
No shit.
Always constantly open on my screen next to me. And like everything, like I love the format of YouTube. It's very digestible. You can go through it really quickly. It's also very dangerous. It really needs to transform. It's like the echo chambers of YouTube, which
of course,
social media. But I think it's interesting to think about like ways of blending cinema with YouTube as well, as television has already so successfully done. So yeah, that's one of the ideas that I'm working on, that I've been developing for the past few weeks. But it's still pretty premature, so still working on the first concepts.
Do you watch Netflix recently? There has been do you know Netflix? You don't know Rick and Morty, so I have to assume that I have to ask you about stuff.
Well, the social dilemma. You must have heard about that one. It's the second best. That's Jeff Orlowski. That's his first film. So he did Chasing Ice, Chasing Coral.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow. I think everybody who's watching that is kind of depressed, scared, and excited at the same time. It's a weird mix. But usually when I ask people like, have they seen it? They say yes, I've seen it like 3 a.m. and at night. That was exactly my case, like too. Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like like you're trying to binge watch something and you stumble upon a social dilemma and you watch, and there's this concept of this AI avatar that's being built based on your preferences. Dude, I cannot forget that like image. For those who have not seen The Social Dilemma, it is essentially as a documentary that is based on interviews with creators of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, like all those people who created that stuff, and they talk about the dangers of it and how it operates and what it can lead to. It is really scary stuff, but at the same time, kind of, I think the knowledge is the power. Like once we know something, we can like work around it, work with it.
Yeah. One thing that I very much like what they said in that movie is at some point, like with the arrival of the internet, we enter the information age, and we're slowly going to like the misinformation age, the disinformation age. And I think that's very much true. Like that's the development of it right now everywhere, and that all starts with raising awareness, and that's what I very much appreciate in like in Orlowski's work as well. Like, it's always about entertaining, and he always talks about the movies like it's a human interest movie, and it's about like that person you want to be engaged with the main characters, and it's about people. But on the other hand, he also like finds a way of like making an impact on the world with that. And I've not read the impact plan of The Social Dilemma. I'm not sure if it's available anywhere just yet. It's still going on right now. But I can very much imagine that it's centered around the premise of raising awareness, making sure that people know that the problem exists, so you can start working on a solution, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. But back to the Netflix topic, I totally agree with you about the awareness. But Netflix, I've been binge watching Queen's Gambit recently. It's this is like a 7-episode story of the genius chess player, and the format that is produced in this is like 7 episodes and 1 hour. It's kind of like House of Cards lengthwise. It's like 1 hour and 5-10 minutes, but the way it's being held, like every single episode is held in a different, like we have the same character, and we see that character being raised from the young child to like adult, like being like late teen, and every single episode has a different set of problems, different set of conflicts, and I love that idea, man. I mean, I watched that like almost entire thing on one sitting, and that's when I started to think about like different formats. Like YouTube right now, I'm binge watching a lot of Joe Rogan content, 3 hours, 4 hours, like literally straight on. Like I'm working and this like it goes in the background. So I'm dude, like whenever you have something you want to brainstorm ideas around this, or like just talk, I'd love to. I think it's a pretty interesting topic. Like looking
at the end of this talk, we're gonna make a list for things to watch for each other. I think that's. And then the next time we talk, we can discuss further on that.
Dude, like a book club. Dude, I'll be down to this.
Like a book club, that's awesome.
Welcome to the book club. Today we'll be discussing Pride and Prejudice, Rick and Morty. Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, but I remember. I don't know if you remember your quote, but it has also been something I cherish in my memory. When you said that documentary filmmaker's role is to do the research and present the problem in entertaining way. Do you remember that? Like that.
It sounds like something that I could have said. Yeah.
You were sitting on the beach and like.
I always like to use the term making healthy candy. So the candy part is like you want to just eat it all and healthy because you want to eat so much of it and it's actually good for you, right?
Oh yeah. Healthy carrots. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, that doesn't sound so sweet.
Listen, so just a lot of people have a problem with climate action and climate change, and I started to like do a more profound research when it comes to like designers on its own, because a lot of designers try to raise the awareness of climate action, but from a perspective of like positive change. Do you see that happening around you in like a filmmaking community, like around you just personally? Like seeing climate change as a positive thing?
Well, we are kind of doing that with Ontong Java. In all honesty, Most people that I talk to, sometimes like some of my closest friends, I'm always a little bit shocked when I hear that they don't really talk about climate change and like the positive things. They don't talk about like the beautiful world that we want to go towards. They have very much the Greta Thunberg, I probably mispronounced that. Sorry, they're very much the apocalyptic version of the future that people talk about, and the world is all going to end, and it doesn't really make any sense anymore. That's actually, to my dissatisfaction, what I see that most people are saying and doing. And yeah, I hope that's going to be a shift. Have you ever seen the movie No with Gael Garcia Bernal?
No, that's
No?
it's just no, like no.
Yeah, no, 2012. It's a movie about like it's set in Chile at the turn when it's. I'm gonna get back to why I have to think of this, but like in No, we follow. It's a semi-true story about the guy that leads a campaign to overthrow the dictator of Chile, Pinochet. And what he does is like the original people that are planning the campaign that are trying to convince all the people that they have to vote no more Pinochet. The original people that were working on that, they were thinking like, okay, we have to remind everybody of like the massacres that he committed, like all the horrible stuff that he has done. And then our main character, our protagonist, comes into play and he says, no, we're going to do completely different. We're going to make it a Coca-Cola commercial, just happiness, people singing and bright colors and just communicate it that way. Just like leave it all behind. Let's make this now a time for being happy. And that's actually like the campaign that they set up. It's absolutely magnificent, and I really believe in that approach. I was a little bit scared of the Trump-Biden campaign for that as well, because Trump was like, it's going to be all over soon. The coronavirus is going to be gone, and Biden was very much, hey, it's horrible. We're not gonna close, but it's very serious, and the future is bleak. And I think in climate change, we kind of have to take the no approach. We have to be a little bit more positive, a little bit more like sketchy, like the utopian future. And I get a feeling that almost everybody in my environment disagrees with me about that, because so many people start quoting Chomsky and Naomi Klein, and they probably have really good points, but it's so super negative. It makes me want to crawl up in my bed and just go to sleep and not do anything. And for me personally, that does not work. I mean, I know that you're the exact opposite, because we had this conversation a few times before.
I mean, also time passed. Like, people change. But my thing right now is that it really is easy to go extreme in this, and I think that it's easy to be very, very much against like this positive view on climate change, but at the same time, it's a slow process. And I recently just learned why it is a slow process to get everybody on board, like to get everybody hyped up, like to do all those different actions, all those different solutions, to use all those different tools that we are creating right now, like technologies, to do like not only technologies that like hardware technologies, but like mental technologies, like different mental devices, how we can think about the future. This stuff takes time, and primarily people need to know why they need to change certain ways. Like before any change happens, people have to understand, they have to come to understanding why is it imperative that they do change, and that's a behavioral change. And I've been talking to this super smart lady, Susan Jackson, with whom I'm also having a podcast sometime in the future, and she's been very vocal about systemic changes, systemic differences. And every time I connect with smart people, it all boils down to behavioral change and really explaining how behavioral change has to happen. And
do you think it's happening right now, if you look around you, or like in global trends that you recognize?
Well, I like 1 year ago, the moment we got back to reality after Ontong Java, I remember how important it was to me to use only like a public transportation, how important it was like to spread the word to everybody, to like just talk about this, how I can help, how you can help. But
did that change?
it
Oh, you do have a
obviously,
sports car right now.
dude, it did change because it really is like not easy to be constantly under this huge amount of pressure, like that, like we are going into a wrong direction, like as a team, as a humanity, like a team humanity, we're going like we are a smoker who's been told by a doctor that he's, if you don't quit smoking like within days, you're gonna be fucked. Like you're gonna get sick. You're gonna get like, or you're sick already, and now you have to quit. But it's not easy to quit because you're addicted to smoking. Like every time.
Yeah, but like just in a hypothetical conversation, like the two things that you can advise is either quit smoking because you're gonna die, quit it, or make sure that the cigarette is healthy.
Dude,
And
yeah.
I don't really like the you have to stop traveling, you cannot drive as much, or you cannot do this or that. You have to be like, everything has to be grounded a little bit more. And of course, there's things you can do that are very easy, and it's not going to affect your quality of life too much. But for me, not traveling as much, it's a no deal. Like that's just like that gives me energy, right? So I think we have to think of a way to like shift it around, that people actually want to have that change, that like the incentive is there.
Yeah, like the change is actually yeah, like if the cigarette makes you, be better, like more like smarter or whatever. But like really, that's why I'm so interested in like doing the podcast like this with people like you, but also people who like entrepreneurs, like startup founders and people who work on the technologies. And I really am like, yesterday I've been attending some energy conference. Dude, I had no idea what they were talking about. Like, like innovation in battery. Like,
what are you doing at an energy conference?
dude, that was so wild, even for me, dude. I was like watching conferences all day long and listening about European battery alliances, and then listening to the CEOs of like those corporations that are like trying to build this huge European market and industry of like creating I don't know, lithium batteries or like hydrogen batteries, and like all those different, there were pitches from startups, from mobility, from water, from solar. And dude, like,
well, what did you learn about it? What did you learn from that?
What I learned is like people actually like seriously know what they are doing, and this is not a lot of people like. And I think the problem is the majority of people don't believe there is a problem. The people who already know that there's a problem don't know that there are actual people, actual companies, and actually very smart entities working on solving that problem. And dude, I got there by an accident. That was like some weird, like it was a huge conference for energy industry, but you were not like, you wouldn't be able to find like a regular person. I don't even know how I got there.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we should go too deep into like the entire climate crisis. I know we had a lot of conversations about it already as well. But like the opposite is true as well. A lot of very smart and very capable people are working towards like the energy sufficient solutions. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of very smart people working on the opposite and making people, disbelieve campaigns and consume as much fossil fuels people as possible and make people doubt that it actually is going to be bad for you. And
dude, this is such a polarizing topic to an extent.
Absolutely.
But I can give you a few examples of those startups because I think they're brilliant. Like, for example, every time you take a shower, do you have a shower over there in Bilbao, like in the apartment?
I do.
You got 2 showers, nice. So you've got hot water, right? Like you've got hot water. Like typically, there's no problem with that. Yeah. So there's one company, and they're growing super fast. What they figured out is like whenever you go into a shower, and then you start, you turn the dial on the hot water, there is I don't know, 10 seconds that there's just cold water running, and is like running, and like you're waiting for the hot water. So what they are building is this kind of thing that you put on the pipe that is somehow using the sustainable, like some kind of different energy, technical jargon, but the point is you turn a dial with their solution, and you have instant hot water. And it may not be a lot when you think about just you, but think about like everybody on the planet do this, like everybody.
Yeah.
This is for me healthy candy, dude. This is yeah.
Well, I remember in a lot of Central American countries, especially, there were a lot of warm showers that were powered by electricity, and not by gas. As in, it's because right now, if you turn on the heat, the water is not heated up by electricity, but with like a little flame that fuels on gas, right? So I remember, I think it was in Costa Rica where all the showers were actually powered by electricity.
Damn! Wow.
Also, a way to go.
Dude, yeah. Well, I'm positive. I mean, I can get negative when I see people around me and like nothing's changing, but I think we're heading down. I think what we really need is a lot of like visual ways to present the problem and the solutions. Like not just the problem, but also like it has to be packaged in a narrative way. That's why I think like filmmaking and what you do is really important. It's really vital to like spread the awareness. And there's like if you start looking for YouTubers that are talking about climate change, like there's not many of those. Like it's not easy to talk about the problem, and like it's such a like. First of all, I want to ask you something. Like, do you think climate change is a problem, or like how can we talk about this so we don't make it negative? Like, what is the problem?
It's a very broad question. Like, can you rephrase it?
So, let's say you're talking to your relatives or your friends, and you want to say what you're doing, that you're kind of raising awareness about people who live on Ontong Java, and sea level is rising. There's a climate change, but you don't want to make it sound negative in a way that there's a climate change and the climate change is bad. You want to say that, you know, climate change is neutral. Like it's happening and it's always gonna happen in some way. We just make it happen faster in a direction that is not sustainable for humans.
Well, it all starts with the willingness to change, right? So you want to make sure people care. Okay. If I think about like the reasons why I care about the world, why I care about the environment, I have to go back to elementary school. And I have a very particular show that I always used to watch, and I was absolutely obsessed with that. And that was the show that made me want to buy a camera and made me like dream about becoming a filmmaker. And that was Steve Irwin. That was Steve Irwin just going around Australia and the outback and visiting all these places and talking with so much enthusiasm and so much passion about the animal life that he found over there. And that made me initially also want to become a herpetologist. I became fascinated with reptiles just because of him, because of that outspoken passion. And he managed to convey that to me, and that inspired something in me. That started like the spark that I care about the world. I don't want the crocodiles to go extinct. I don't want those beautiful reefs in the Great Barrier Reef to completely die out. So I care, and that's why that motivates me still. You know, that's like the beginning, but that's something that we can also inspire in others. I hope that when people watch the Ontong Java film, that they're going to have an appreciation for the people, that they're going to have an appreciation for the culture that is truly one of a kind. They've been living there in seclusion. Well, seclusion is a debated term, but they've been there for 2,000 years. They have such a rich cultural heritage. They're such smart and well-educated people. And I hope that people are going to care about them. And if you care, and if you appreciate them, it also matters when they wash away. And if you don't know anything about them, well, how can you care? It all starts with that, you know, like, and I think that's a responsibility. Well, that's something I feel like I can do as a filmmaker. And also if I think about like graphic design, you know, Hans Rosling from the Factfulness author, he has this, I think it's one of the most watched videos on TED. He managed to like put the state of the world, the current state of the world, into like a different visual way. He presented it in a different way. And that just changed your entire perspective for so many people, myself included, about like how the world is doing right now. So that's something that you can do like as a designer. And there's so many different ways because we're visual human beings. We're storytelling creatures. And from like entertainment and artistic standpoint, there's so much you can do. And luckily we're creative as well. So we can come up with the way that fits ourselves.
Exactly.
In your case, it's Hyphea, and in my case, it's Ontong Java, and who knows what's going to be next. But I'm pretty sure that we're gonna keep on fighting to make sure that apocalypse is never going to happen.
Yeah.
And that the world is going to be beautiful for our children and more equal.
Yeah, I keep thinking about like my own personal motivation, and I like that you went on a tangent here and just touch on like why, like your why, because my why it all started with running, simply running and like being like in the nature more often than not. And I think the problem that we are facing is that people are really getting away from nature. Like nature is becoming like less of a part of somebody like people's lives. Like we are surrounded by concrete, glass, aluminium, like this.
Look at you,
like
yeah.
This. I mean, like I do have things like palm trees like surrounding me. Like this apartment, like it's filled with palm trees. But yeah, but I do run every single day, dude.
Yeah, I think that's another value of Ontong Java for like a European or Western audience is that a lot of people feel the way that you do right now. A lot of people want to feel more connected to nature. I see that everywhere around you. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of people in our circles long for living a little bit more like the people in Ontong Java. A little bit more simple, thinking more about the day and being happy, and there's no stress and there's not so many impulses.
Dude, there was no stress at all. Like that is such a weird concept to everybody. Like, dude, what happens?
Yeah, exactly.
What happens when there's no stress, when you have time filled with, like, your entire day is comprised of waking up, having a coffee, reading a book for 3 to 4 hours, then you just casually go fishing and you get the best fish ever, and then you eat that fish and that's it. Like you can.
Well, yeah. We had a pretty privileged position on the atoll. Like,
okay, yeah. Well,
like so the women they are constantly cleaning. They're super neat, so they're constantly like making sure raking the floor.
Yeah, you're right. I simplify that. Yeah.
They're building the house every year. They have to replace the roof, but it's predictable, and people live more by the day, and that makes climate change very difficult as well. Because you remember when we got there were actually a lot of people that were critical about us, because there were people that came there before from the government or researchers, and the criticism that they confronted us with was like, those people came and they did not solve the climate crisis. And we are, of course, like, yeah, of course we cannot solve the climate crisis. But like, think about it from like a cultural perspective. Then, if you live in that like that's a small speck of paradise, and you don't have a lot of course, there's worries like on longer term, but a lot of things are happening on short term. Almost everything has a solution. You're hungry, fish. You
don't have a house, we're gonna build you a house like tomorrow.
Exactly.
Like,
and if you have a big complicated problem, a big moral issue, you go to the church and the priest is going to tell you what is right to do. So like almost every single thing that happens on the islands has a quick answer, and climate change is not one of those things. It's not that a Polish guy and a Dutch guy are going to come there and solve it. It's just not possible. And that, in my experience, was pretty difficult to convince sometimes. That made it a little bit difficult for me to do my work. But yeah, definitely, I think a lot of people, that's how we started on this, in European and Western societies, long to go back more to nature, go run in the nature like you do, and feel a little bit more connected to who we like are.
Oh. Do you have a lot of nature like around you, like around the apartment that you're staying?
I'm looking at the mountains right now. I try to go there's not that many of them, but every sunny day I try to do like at least a hike or run in the mountains or.
You've been running today, dude. How many kilometers did you do?
I did a very lazy, unadventurous route. I did 10K.
Woohoo! Damn.
Yeah, this is an easier one. Like I'm I'm not sure if it's podcast material, but I'm preparing for my second challenge. I want to do like a very long hike in the mountains. I'm I'm kind of trying to break my own challenges, my own limits. So I did like the longest hike I've ever done. I did 52 kilometers on one day with a 1,500-meter elevation. And right now I want to do the most.
How many kilometers? 52?
52.
No, 15.
52.
52 kilometers hike.
With a 1.5 kilometer altitude change.
You did that, or are you going to do that?
I did that, and right now I'm gonna do something that's
how many weeks did that take you, dude? Like
one day, dude. I woke up fucking early, right back late.
Jesus.
Without breaking. But the next one I'm preparing for right now is Corona is allowing me. I want to do 7 mountain peaks in one day, which is like a 4 kilometer elevation, and it's a 45 kilometer hike. And that one really scares me because it's like very slippery. So if you get too exhausted, it's going to be dangerous. So then you have to quit, right? So you have to be a little bit fit. So I'm trying to stay into shape a little bit.
Jesus, dude, you're putting me to shame. I'm doing like 10K, like 12 kilometers on a relatively flat area. And I'm like,
that doesn't exist.
Dude, I'm like, that shit was good. Like, let's do it like in a few days. No, but...
Oh, you're fit, You're fit. I remember you like at least every day you did something, either yoga or running. So.
Oh yeah, I keep trying to do yoga. Yeah, I keep doing yoga, but yeah, I even got a treadmill in here just in case their lockdown is gonna.
And you gotta go. That also keeps you in shape, right?
But yeah, I think like you said, it may not be a podcast material. I think it is. Like I think a lot of people who care about nature are active people, and it is connected to each other. Like there's a reason why we care. It's a selfish reason, dude. I don't want to run in a toxic, like.
You didn't run into the era.
Like, dude,
That cost you 5 years.
Just like for people listening around in Honiara, we were staying in a nice hotel, and one day I decided to go for a run, and that was it was 6 kilometers, but that 6 kilometers took me. Well, it was like 30 minutes when I was running it, but it also took like 5 years of my life. Just because of the amount of toxicity in the air, like people were burning trash on the street. I remember that was the first time I took a knife for a run, and
that was in your beginning period. You still had to adjust.
Dude, I was doing an edit today, and I was like talking about your flip flops. Like the day I got to Honiara, you picked me up and you were in the flip flops, and I was like, what? Like, God,
it really did an impression on you, right?
I remember how sure I was I will never do this. Like it's so dirty. Sure. Like it's like the risk is there to like step on something, something is gonna bite you or like whatever. And
dude.
2 weeks later, dude, I was like, fuck it. Like flip flops, man, right now. So
you're a city boy.
I used to be. Then I met you, and now I'm like.
Now you know what the word boring through means, right? You remember that?
Boring through. Oh my God.
Oh, that's a story for another day.
It is. We got to do it. But that was an intense experience. Intense experience.
Let's not go into that. Let's
going
not
through the mountain. Yeah. Listen, dude. We can cut it here. I think it's a lot of interesting materials. I really appreciate having you here today and just talking about climate change. I think that's the part of the solution. Just making it a part of life for everybody. Like make people aware that there are people like us that have their job, like do whatever they do, but they all at the same time they care and use their creative skills to somehow spread the message, spread the awareness. So thank you, Guus. It was a pleasure, man. And any last words?
No, dude. Let's keep on fighting.
Oh, awesome, dude. And yeah, next time, send me over the list of books, and we're gonna do a discussion.
Book club.
Yeah, like a book club, dude. I'm serious. Let's do like a monthly book club or whatever. Like,
I used to do that very quickly. When I was like 17, 18, I was playing like in a small band with people, and we were playing every week at the house. And we always said, like every week we had to prepare something for like post playing conversation. Prepare something that we always wanted to know but didn't really understand. So one guy talked about general relativity, like he knew it existed, but was never able to express it, like explain it. So then he had to go dive into that, and somebody else had like how clouds form and whatever. So every week, like you had to research something and share it with your peers, and that way you learn together. Extremely nerdy stuff, but it's fun.
Dude, I love it. Yeah, I love the motivation, like the pressure. So for the next time, let's find a book or like an article or a film, and let's
Let's do it on the record. Which book do I have to read from you?
Oh, geez, man. What am I reading right now? That's a big question. I'm not reading it. No, I started to read a book about recycling and how recycling industry works. I got super into it. Like how do people manage trash? I can send you over a link so we can discuss like the way people solve the waste management problem, because it's a fascinating problem if you think about it. Like it can. I'm gonna send you a link to it. I'm gonna send you a link, and then we can do it like within a month or something. Like just go over it. I'm gonna read it through because I just started reading it, and then we can like discuss it.
Awesome. Then I'm gonna give you a book that's a completely different topic, but I think you have never really researched it, so it might open your eyes. Which is a book about the history of Latin America and how they've been ripped off by Europe and the US consequently for decades and ages, and it's eye-opening. It's eye-opening.
I pick up the glove. Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. I remember reading the Humboldt and being really impressed by Venezuela and like all that stuff. So
Venezuela, yeah. Cool, let's do it. Send me over your book. I'll send you over mine.
Dude, like just so people like if they're interested in specifically talking to you, like how they can reach you and how they can like get in touch with you, check out your work, your stuff.
Oh, it's very easy. Just go to www.guusschuijl.com. I know immediately that you know how to write that, and then you will find everything you need to know.
This is GUUSSCHUIGL.com.
Man, you pulled it off.
Nice. Okay.
One of a kind.
What
Awesome.
about the Ontong Java has a Facebook profile, right? An Instagram profile. The film.
Everything, and a website as well, and trailers, and
so that's
ontongjava.com.
And yeah, if you want to talk to you, do you want people to reach out to you or not? Like, are you like, no, don't talk to me?
Absolutely, reach out.
especially if you have money to support the filmmaking and like documentary projects. That's the stuff.
I love rich and generous people.
Oh yes. Dude, thank you again. Right. Have a great night, and let's connect sometimes in the future, man.